Hello, I appreciate you being here. We're going to investigate something really remarkable, something that beyond the scope of a normal film. A stirring new movie that is sure to make an impact is on its way to cinemas. Mel Gibson's film, The Passion of the Christ. The resurrection is more than simply a continuation of a tale. It's a cinematic experience that has the power to alter how people see one of the most significant events in human history. This film transports us to a time more than 2,000 years ago, yet it does it in a manner that is new, poignant, and very relatable. It combines spiritual mystery with unadulterated emotion, fusing the holy with the mundane. It's not only about Jesus' resurrection, it's about everything that happened at that precise time. Fear, grief, and quiet characterized the days after the crucifixion, but there were also indications that something far bigger was developing in the background. The resurrection is portrayed as the spark that ignited a fire across creation, rather than just as a miracle. In addition to examining what happened on Earth, the movie shows how this catastrophe shook and changed spiritual worlds. You're seeing heaven and earth clash, not just seeing people's reactions. This film has been meticulously crafted in every shot. Each scene seems strong and intimate because of the attention to emotion, light, and quiet. Overwhelmed by sorrow, the apostles are seen looking for purpose among the mayhem. Once a site of finality, the tomb now marks the start of something unexpected. The film's creative team has put their all into ensuring that each scene is significant and full of magic. The development of this project has lasted for over 2 decades. It's more than just a film. It's a labor of love created by those who want to recognize the significance of this occasion. They wanted the audience to feel, experience, and leave the narrative altered, not merely to hear it. As a result, with each announcement and update, excitement has grown. The narrative opens with a poignant, silent moment. Still in mourning, a group of ladies walks to the grave. They anticipate finding a dead corpse and grieving in private. Instead, they encounter something for which no one could have planned. There is no one in the tomb. The mood is unusual, weighty, enigmatic, and oddly energized. Then angels show up. These are messengers with messages that change reality, not merely luminous numbers. You look for the living among the dead, but why? Everything changes when you ask that question. It's a gateway to a new knowledge, not just an announcement. Not only has Jesus risen from the dead, but he has also created a gateway to a realm beyond the material world, one in which the power of God transcends time and location. Now that the seemingly unthinkable has occurred, nothing will ever be the same. This was difficult for the disciples to comprehend. They were doubtful, uncertain, and afraid. They had no idea what was going on or the significance of it. However, the resurrection was more than a personal triumph. It was a change in the cosmos. Something strong was happening beyond the curtain of the apparent world. They were pushing back the darkness. The lines between spirit and body, life and death, were dissolving. In this tale, even hell, which has long been believed to be governed by pain, assumes a new function. It becomes the backdrop for the irresistible force of Christ. A sight of victory replaces what was formerly a sight of loss. Power was taken away from the forces that attempted to maintain it. The triumph spread beyond death and into every nook and cranny of the world, bearing a message that nothing could defeat. This was not only the end, it marked the start of a new era for all of mankind. People who experienced it were altered in ways they were unable to adequately describe. The first to see the reality were the ladies who had before shuddered in grief. After being paralyzed by terror, the apostles discovered that they were standing on the brink of something great and sacred. Their religion was brittle and sadness had immobilized them. However, everything changed when the resurrected Christ showed up. His words were vibrant, not simply soothing. Their spirits were aroused by them. "Peace be with you," he replied, adding that peace was more than simply consolation. It was strength. Clarity was the key. It gave them a fresh lease on life. They started to feel less afraid. What had seemed to be the end was now the start of a mission. They had the confidence to speak out, to confront the same world that had crucified their teacher, and to do so with unwavering faith once the Holy Spirit arrived. They became live evidence of what had transpired in spite of their flaws and all they had seen. They carried the resurrection with them in every word, every action, and every sacrifice. They didn't merely remember it. Imagine reading a narrative that not only depicts amazing deeds, but also immerses you in the emotions, anxieties, and turning points of the characters. This film can portray a narrative like that. Not only would it depict Peter and Thomas's deeds, but it would also give us a sense of the gravity of their choices, uncertainties, and internal conflicts. For example, Peter wasn't always courageous. Out of terror, he once denied knowing Jesus. But then something happened, a change so strong that he found himself delivering sermons to hundreds of people with a voice full of passion. His bravery was all the more significant because of his prior weakness. Then there is Thomas, who is often remembered for his skepticism. But his faith became unwavering when he did believe. His message traveled far beyond anyone's expectations. They evolved into leaders, messengers, and witnesses to something far bigger than themselves. They were no longer only followers. Every one of them ignited a spark that sparked a fire, one that has been consuming lives for thousands of years and still has an influence today. However, what was the source of their strength? It wasn't because they were inherently powerful or courageous. They did it because they thought death no longer had the last say. They had a deep-seated belief that Jesus had resurrected. Ordinary individuals become unstoppable forces because of their idea. You wouldn't sacrifice your life for a falsehood. These individuals also did more than simply speak. They took action. Their deeds, selflessness, and unwavering determination are what give this tale its immense impact. They knew, not just believed, and the world was altered by what they discovered. The resurrection of Christ, the much-awaited follow-up to the Passion of the Christ, is centered on that emotional and spiritual core. January 2025 marked the formal start of manufacturing after years of preparation. This film, which was once again directed by Mel Gibson, is an extension of the tale rather than just a continuation of it. Its purpose is to investigate the cosmological and spiritual ramifications of the events that followed the crucifixion. When Jim Caviezel reprises his role as Jesus, he is more enthusiastic than ever. This script, according to him, is even more potent than the first. In order to maintain tight and immersive continuity, the crew is utilizing sophisticated digital effects to make Caviezel appear exactly as he did in the original 2004 movie, since the plot starts just 3 days after the crucifixion. It took more than 7 years to write the script. Randall Wallace and Mel Gibson created a story that transcends Earth. It shifts between worlds, portraying heaven and hell as vivid, symbolic locations in addition to the human world. These are crucial elements of the narrative, not just supporting locations. With striking imagery and deep meaning, the movie examines the full extent of Jesus' resurrection. It seeks to demonstrate how a spiritual revolution was sparked by that one moment in time. However, the narrative doesn't end with the resurrection. It also explores how the early Christian movement got its start. It demonstrates how the disciples started sharing the word when they had gained confidence and conviction, and how their audacity changed the path of history. This will not be a dull historical account. It is developing into a broad, poignant trip that includes both intense human suffering and moments of divine wonder. Malta, Morocco, and Israel are just a few of the carefully selected shooting sites, each of which has a rough, natural beauty that captures the unadulterated spiritual force of the events being depicted. In order to produce scenes that seem both natural and otherworldly, the visual effects team collaborates with production designers and cinematographers. These scenes, whether they include an angelic contact or a glimpse of the spiritual world, are designed to be both realistic and powerful. The final conflict between good and evil, not only a metaphor but a real-life element in the narrative, lies at the heart of it all. The powers of good and evil are shown as active players in the drama rather than as hidden entities. This enhances the experience in yet another way. The viewer is lured into a spiritual conflict that is still being waged today, both within hearts and throughout history, rather than just watching events happen. It is certain that this picture aims to be one of the most significant cinematic events of the decade, if not the century, now that production has officially begun. The original movie's fans are hoping it will not only meet, but also exceed their expectations by providing something even more profound and revolutionary than it did in the past. What do you think then? Are you eager to follow the events of this new chapter? Do you think the resurrection of Christ can achieve the same level of spiritual and emotional depth as the original film, or maybe surpass it? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like this analysis and want to be informed of all the most recent developments. We have a lot more in store for you. We appreciate your time and hope to see you at the next one.